Good afternoon. My name is Alena Shautsova. I'm an immigration attorney from Brooklyn, New York. And in today's live Facebook presentation, I would like to talk to you about a very common topic. I receive a lot of questions about what to do and what not to do, what to avoid when you have an asylum pending status. As you may know, asylum pending status, and of course, here, by the way, I'm going to be focusing on affirmative asylum. It's asylum without the court. When you just, let's say, arrived or you filed your case and you're not in court, you're waiting for your interview. Many people are waiting for their interview for years in the United States. Unfortunately, due to backlog, we sometimes see that an affirmative asylum case may be pending for 3-5 years before a person is called for an interview. And as you can imagine, a lot of time passes, right? And sometimes people, they simply, forget as to why they're here, what's happening, what they need to do while their case is pending. Because, under the asylum laws and regulations, a person actually should be heard within 180 days. But of course, it's not the case. And that's where we're at. So let's talk about what to do and what not to do. So first of all, you have to have a copy of your case. It sounds very simple and basic, but I've noticed that many people actually somehow are missing copies of their asylum filing. So what you absolutely have to do is you need to obtain a copy of your I-589, Application for Asylum, Withholding of Removal and Convention Against Torture, the same one that was filed for you, okay? So you will have the same copy as the government has. It's very important. You will review that copy of your form to make sure it has accurate information. As you can imagine, some information may change as to your family status, right? Maybe you dropped out of some organizations or groups you used to be a member of. Maybe to the contrary, you joined some groups. So you need to be ready with those changes. Another issue is that sometimes people use some preparers for asylum who are not licensed professionals, so sometimes even licensed professionals make mistakes on your asylum application. And for you, as the person, it's going to be very important to correct all the mistakes and be ready with an explanation as to why this or that mistake happened. For example, the form may not accurately list the date of your entry into the United States. And it can be a very significant issue that actually reflects on your eligibility for asylum. And sometimes it may affect your eligibility for other reliefs from removal if you are referred to court. Another example, family members may not be accurately stated, or some other answers may not be accurate. I find that the most difficult accuracy to be achieved on page, I believe, 5 of the application is where persons are asked as to the grounds for asylum, why they're filing for asylum. And very often people do not list all possible grounds, okay? And it's a big mistake. Or they list something totally unrelated to the actual claim. Not really sure why it happens. I feel it because many people who are new in the United States, they rely on someone else to process this paperwork for them, and they don't understand the consequences. They do not understand the asylum laws at that point, and it's just becoming an issue later. Because trust me, at some point, somebody who has a law degree or training will look at that application, and all those issues that you would think would not matter or would be minor problems may become huge legal issues for you. For example, you made a claim that your family members are being extorted in your country because they have a small business, right? They have a small business. They don't want to pay bribes to the government officials, right? And you checked off as to the ground for your asylum claim, because now you are threatened and you're afraid that something may happen to you, or maybe you received already threats or your family members received threats. You checked off ground as membership in a particular social group. This is actually a very, very common scenario. Why? Because there was a body of case law developed saying that a person can claim asylum based on the membership in a particular social group, and that social group can be one's family. Okay? Within the past couple years, so you filed your claim, let's say in 2016, under that ground. You didn't check off any other grounds, and your claim is pending. But within the past 2 years, while your claim is pending, the law, the qualifications for that particular ground changed dramatically. Okay? You didn't receive proper legal advice at the time when you were filing application, and you didn't check off political opinion ground. Believe it or not, when you object to practices that the government officials are trying to impose on you, your objection by itself might qualify as a political opinion. So had you checked off that extra ground, right? If you knew all these legal definitions and consequences of what happened, how to properly frame your claim, you'd be in a better position now. Of course, you can try to amend your claim, but there is a risk that the officer may state that now it's not an amended claim, it's a new claim, which is subject to 1-year deadline. This is just one very narrow example as to why it's important to have a copy of your asylum claim and review it. Second, you have to have a copy of your statement in support, which is a part of your asylum package. If you do not have a statement in support, you have to have one, okay? It's one of the things that you need to have when you are preparing for your asylum interview, statement in support, because it's going to organize your thoughts, it's going to help asylum officer to understand what is that your case is about, and is going to provide necessary details. So it's very important to have a statement in support. Now, things change. Your claim could have been pending for a very long time, 5 years. In 5 years, a lot of different things may change. Have you been tracking the changes? Do you know who is now sits in a presidential seat in your country? The ruling party could have changed, right? The situation with oppressing certain minorities could have been changed. Your personal situation could change. You need to stay on top of those changes, okay? You need to track them to be ready on your interview date to address significant changes in country conditions and perhaps your personal situation. Because sometimes situation with you, your changes, may affect your asylum claim, believe it or not. Very important. And of course, another thing that you absolutely have to do, even though it's hard, especially if you are not represented by an attorney, you have to stay updated regarding asylum law and regulations changes. They will affect your case drastically. As I just had this example with membership in a social group, there are other changes in asylum laws that may affect your eligibility for asylum, and you need to be aware and prepared. Sometimes when I'm consulting with people, they ask me, are you going to write a statement? Are you going to create a story for me? I said, no, you give me a statement. Are you going to translate the story for me? I said, well, no, we need to have a qualified, certified translator for that. So they tell me, so why then I need a lawyer if I'm doing everything? So let me explain to you why. Can you imagine, you know how to drive, for example, and I'm going to ask you to to drive to from your home to Washington, D.C. Well, I assume you don't live in Washington, D.C. without the GPS. Okay, I'm going to tell you, drive without the GPS to Washington, D.C. So chances are you may be able to get there if you have some sort of idea or you looked at the map, but probably not, right? Without the GPS, it's very, very hard unless you're extremely well versed in all the highways in the United States and how to get around and things like that. I know I wouldn't be able to, okay? So an attorney is that GPS, okay? Ideally, your lawyer will know how to get where you want to get. So that's what a lawyer's job is in a nutshell, to be your GPS in the legal world, to make sure that you'll do the right turns where you need to turn, to make sure that your case will be well equipped to meet legal challenges. So that's what a lawyer's job is, to be your GPS. Now, what not to do? What not to do when you have asylum pending? Well, first of all, you should not be traveling to your home country. Duh, everybody knows about that, but some people still are trying. Very important point. Travel to your home country does not automatically disqualify you from asylum, okay? But it's going to be a significant barrier on your way to asylum because there are very narrow exceptions as to when this travel can be excused or disregarded or explained. But to be on the safe side, you don't need to complicate your case, okay? Asylum law in the United States is already complicated. Using your country's passport. Guys, when you use your country's passport, it's like you're asking that country to protect you, okay? As if you're still represented by that country. Technically, under international laws, a person who is a refugee is a stateless person. Person does not have citizenship of any country. So, usage of that passport should be avoided. And of course, we go to more elaborated and maybe rare things to avoid, but still, do not get arrested, okay? Especially with the new changes to asylum laws, arrests can be criminal convictions, but sometimes arrests for domestic violence can disqualify a person from asylum, okay? Especially for domestic violence, remember that. And arrests for felonies, convictions of felonies, certain misdemeanors, but related to crimes like identity, false identity usage, or crimes related to some minor offenses. Well, they're not really, I understand for federal purposes are not minor, but something that before would not disqualify a person from asylum now will be a problem. So you need to try to be focused on your case for the entire time and stay away from the trouble. Now, I would like to stop here specifically on a very important topic of using public benefits. Why? Interestingly enough, applicants for asylum or asylees are not disqualified from public benefits. They're actually encouraged to apply for them if when they receive the asylum status. They're not subject to public charge rule. But nowadays, there is a new and specific ground to bar somebody from asylum. Well, it's a proposed rule I'm talking about. It's not the rule yet, but chances are it will become a rule. It's unlawful use of public benefits. It's when you are filing for something, maybe again with the help of a helper or somebody in your local community who say that they know everything, and they check off some wrong boxes on that application saying that you are already an asylee, or saying that you already have a certain status in the United States which you do not have, or intentionally manipulating with your tax figures or your income, okay, to qualify you for certain public benefits. And if that becomes known to the United States government, you will not receive asylum, okay, when the rules come into effect. You need to know about that, please. I know that in some communities it's a problem, okay, I know in my community, it's a problem. Now, there is one thing also that you need to remember about, which I find sometimes it's kind of disregarded or not really paid attention to, but still it's something that may pop up in the future and become an issue, is working without authorization when your asylum case is pending. Okay, there is a bar, there is a certain legal problem that may pop up in connection with the working without authorization while your asylum case is pending. It's important to know about it and try to avoid this situation. Okay, so those are the most important things. And finally, final advice: if you have a pending asylum application, remember, you can be called for the interview at any time. You do not know when that time is going to come. No one knows. We can estimate, perhaps. Okay, I can estimate that if you filed your case in 2016, chances are you're going to be called for your interview. Majority of the applicants will be called for the interview pretty soon. But when exactly, we do not know. Are you ready for it? Okay. So thank you guys for joining me. Let me see your questions. Hi, Baba. Hi, Osani. Hi, Allure. I have a quick question. I applied as 360 VAWA 2017. In October, I received my VAWA approval notice. Okay. And I filed I-45 in October 2019. And I have my fingerprints. In January, I still did not get my green card. I think the best way, first of all, I'm wondering why you filed separately for your VAWA and I-45. You know that if you were married to a US citizen, you were able to file those two forms together, okay? As to the interview, if it's going to take place or not, I really would not know. It depends on your case. I think the best lawyer, the best person to discuss it with would be an attorney or someone who helped you. I hope it's a lawyer who helped you to file your case, right? But usually those two filings are done simultaneously. When your interview will be, would not know. Usually such cases are handled by Vermont Service Center. So I think, you can ask your attorney, especially I see that you're also in immigration court, to follow up perhaps and see what's going on. But if you are in immigration court, you says that I have asylum master hearing next year, your I-45 was supposed to have filed with the court, right? So your attorney will likely to be the best person to explain to you why certain applications, I-45, for example, if you're in court, USCIS is not going to have jurisdiction over them anymore. Okay, it's a judge who will have to decide it. What do you think about a new judge? Are you referring to the new US Supreme Court judge? We're gonna see, as good as any. I mean, I don't really, guys, you have to understand that when a person is appointed or offered to such a high position, regardless of political affiliation, a person should have experience, okay? Person should have experience, and generally speaking, they're doing their job. They're doing it pretty well, generally speaking. But of course, depending on their beliefs and political affiliation or possible political affiliation, we will see corresponding results. I will refrain from making any political statements here because I think that's not what my presentation is about. And maybe we'll have a separate channel for that, to discuss policies, politics, and alike. Hi, Salman. Hi there. I applied for, I guess, advanced parole 3 months ago and didn't get any update. Is there any way I can call to track my application status? Well, you can call. You can try to get your application status, but it takes a long time to get advanced parole. So I'm not surprised that you didn't receive any news. unless you asked for it to be expedited. Okay, it takes sometimes 6 to 7 months to receive it. Hi Tamjit, hi Muzamel, nice to see you. The same thing happened with N400. I'm not sure. Hi Kosan, if you would give me some more details, I'll be able to comment regarding N400 question. Hi Karine, hi Sophie, hi Atamjit, Chance. How long does it take to receive an approval notice from USCIS? Wow, that depends, guys. It depends on what you were filing for. All right. Generally speaking, if we talk about time frame from the time you receive an electronic notification until you receive a mail in notification, about a couple of weeks as usual, you know. Sometimes a little bit longer. Yeah. How, Mike? How long does this take to receive EAD based on marriage? Again, it depends. It depends on if you have an RFE, request for more evidence in your case, or you don't have it. But usually, if I would have to estimate it, I would say 3 to 4 months. Okay, if I had to guess it. Hi, Yusuf. Hi, Ree. Hi, John. I have my biometrics in October 2020 for Asylum. When will I have an interview? Filed in March. Guys, do not know. All right. Unfortunately, I think it's going to depend on your local office. Of course, before the pandemic, what we had is that asylum interviews were very fast. They were taking place within 60 days, 45 days of your filing of your applications. But now you see people file in March, in May, and they're just being called for fingerprints. So I wouldn't be able to guess, you know. Maybe a couple of months, or maybe it will be a longer situation depending on how this pandemic situation is going on. I know that we have concerns now about the second wave, what people are experiencing in Europe. So I think in the United States, perhaps due to those concerns, we're going to see less activity, you know, in public buildings and public offices. So we're gonna see, you know, I wouldn't be able to predict, unfortunately. Well, thank you guys very much for joining me. I hope you learned something from this video, or at least it was like a reminder for you to stay on top of your case, even if you're tired of waiting for your asylum interview for many, many years. So please like, share this video, and thank you for joining me again. I hope to see you soon.